the reality is it was always there to begin with. The modern monetary system, 1913, was already in place, but we just didn't have the awareness, or perhaps we didn't have reasons to question, and we are questioning everything. I know I'm a former journalist, and I'm definitely questioning everything, and I know you two are as well. That makes sense, doesn't it? That we have to start to look at, well, what is money? Well, what are you doing with my money? Well, what's happening in future? As I said, we're hurtling towards a cashless society. What sort of world is that going to be for us, let alone our children?
Hello, Quanta folks, and welcome to another episode of our little sister podcast, Alchemising Education, little sister to Fark the Shoulds, because it totally underpins what we talk about.
Absolutely.
I am Jodi from QuantiMama.
Hello, everyone, and I'm Kerri from QuantiMama. Thanks for joining us.
And today we have a lady in red looking absolutely radiant. We have Carmelle Pavan from As Good as Gold Australia. She's the general manager of Victoria, so no small feat there, but she is also a champion of women understanding and getting what we call financial literacy in particularly precious metals, but just financial literacy generally for this crazy old world we're in. So Carmelle will obviously talk more about all your fantastic ventures that you've got going on, but welcome to Alchemising Education.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here, an absolute honour. So thank you for the opportunity.
Well, we're really grateful that you've created space in your busy day for this. And some might sort of think, well, what's this got to do with alchemising education? But when we start educating the mothers, then the children naturally start being the byproduct of that education as well. And I think that's something that you're focused on, obviously, encouraging wealth of women. I know that you're a brand partner for that organisation. You also have As Good as Gold Women, which is about educating women on the value of precious metals. But we see that as a great way to then start educating our kids as well, because I certainly know that in school I was never taught about precious metals or even anything other than we were talking about the fact that we all ended up with one of those CBA,
the Commonwealth Bank little passport booklets.
Yeah,
that was our introduction, wasn't it? And it's kind of like when we're kids and we get an introduction to something new, that's obviously all we then know, and it's just what we follow, and we don't sort of tend to steer off that path. So we want to sort of try and look at what are the other ways that we as mums, and then obviously the knock-on effect to our beautiful children when it comes to financial, security and sovereignty. So keen to know more.
Yeah, so I guess even if you would love to share with us how you came to know that this was of value and it being your compass for where you are now.
Thank you. I remember those days too when the Commonwealth Bank had the little dolomite savers and all the children in the area started saving. That was not a bad thing. But look, you're right generally, and I want to talk more about that we unless you're in finance, you don't get the education. And I know as myself included. So how did I start? I literally stumbled into precious metals. I knew the co-founder of As Good as Gold Australia, Daryl Paynes, about 9 years ago, and we were doing a kind of like a joint network marketing event. I met him. He thought I was a good fit. He was looking for someone to really start looking at selling bullion, gold and silver, but also being part of the education process, because I do believe that's what we do. We don't just sell bullion. It's not just transactional. We create a relationship with the person. We have confidential conversations. I get to know our clients really well, and I think it's really important because that creates trust. So Yes, I've been in different roles for As Good as Gold Australia, strategy, business, marketing, and then events. So we started doing a lot of events in capital cities around Australia. I'm based in Melbourne. The head office of As Good as Gold Australia is in Adelaide. We are the third largest, fastest growing, but we never see precious metals advertised. I mean, I've got some, I'm surrounded by gold and silver, which I really am dying to show you. But I mean, in all honesty, we don't hear about gold and silver, do we? We never hear it from our financial planners and our accountants, and there's a really good reason for that. So what we decided to do is have these smaller events in capital cities, about 6 or so pre-pandemic, 6 or so years ago. And we would fill a Saturday afternoon in a hotel, let's say. The venue would hold 100 to 150 people. No kidding, 5 or 10 women. So the CEO said, well, why are women not interested in finance? Are they not interested in their financial future? Are they not interested in bullion? Maybe we should do something about it. So As Good as Gold was then born. And it is the first bullion company in the world, actually, as far as I know, that is dedicated to educating women to really look at their financial future, to start to learn and really essentially purchase what is known as the top tier world-class investment, which is gold and silver. So that's really how it all started. I don't use the brand as often these days. It's interesting, though, we've had such an upswing of women. So first, the pandemic was all about, well, what's happening? This is affecting my health, my children's health, my family's health, my health. Yes. Now that dust has settled for now, generally speaking, but we're now looking at finance. And in this incredibly uncertain time, we are seeing more and more women are actually now at the forefront of looking at their finances and taking care of their families and their money, their finance. So bullion is a really great way to start. And, I'd love to talk more about some details there and how it all works.
I think it's very helpful to unpack that for people, because certainly I had no awareness of precious metals whatsoever before the pandemic. So from that is a real juncture in my life. But then I wasn't homeschooling my kids back then either. And I wasn't questioning the degree that I question now. So I really appreciate the fact that it was a catalytic gift to start pulling that stuff apart. What do you tend to find are the main questions, or I guess things that you're surprised that people don't know that they ask in the first instance about precious metals particularly?
That's a really great question. Number one is because it's not advertised, and I mean, it's very expensive if you do advertise, but I think all the huge financial investment companies and banks will just suppress that. So gold and silver, well, my financial planner, these are the myths. My financial planner, my accountant, they don't invest in gold and silver. They tell me to steer away from it. Well, I actually have worked in 3 different finance firms, and I was also selling bullion on the side, if you like. Now, this is my full-time role and has been for a number of years. But I remember when I spoke to these financial planners and tax accountants, basically they said, there's nothing in it for us. There's no trailing commission. So why would they sell it? Why would they even promote it? And there's actually no GST. Gold and silver, I'm going to put a bar of silver if you like.
Please do.
So that's 1 kilo of silver. There's 32.15 ounces in silver. Well, this is real money. And it's a product. So we sell a product, which just happens to, you pay financial, your fiat currency, and you're buying real money. So that's the first myth is, well, these so-called finance experts, they tell me to steer away. Secondly, it's only for the millionaires. You have to be really wealthy to purchase gold and silver. And I don't know, it sounds too hard to buy. Well, it is extremely simple. And you can start with half an ounce of silver is about $35 at the moment. So it's, you can definitely go up, but we always encourage to start off small, get your gold, get your silver. I'll show you now just 1 ounce of gold. So it's a little nugget, but that's 1 ounce of pure gold. And by pure, I mean 99 is classified as 99.99 purity. And Australian gold, specifically Victorian gold, is the highest purity of gold, the third highest purity gold in the world. So Australian gold is very sought after. And, we've got great mines here. So you've got the mining company that mines gold and silver, and then the raw product goes to the refining companies. So they're all from Australia. All our gold and silver is from Australia. We have our own products, and also Perth Mint is based in Perth in West Australia, and it's actually been around for 125 years. It's the only mint that actually makes the coins that we sell as well. So anyone can buy. You don't have to be a millionaire. Absolutely not. It's very easy. Come into the office, call us. We'll send you an invoice. You can literally come in with cash, and so we've got products to sell, or we've got clients all over Australia, thousands of clients actually all over Australia, and we do just courier their products discreetly to them. No one knows that they're getting it delivered to. It's under another company name. And when it comes to trust, well, it's all about trust, isn't it? Particularly when we have our hard-earned money, that we just need to know that we're doing the right thing. And you need to trust the bullion dealer. So we do pride ourselves that we are very trustworthy. We give as much information. We have YouTube videos with global experts in economy and in finance. We go to the experts to find out, what is going in this incredibly tumultuous landscape that we're living in at the moment. The energies are just through the roof as we feel it. And we do. The other thing is that when you buy some gold or silver, you can always sell it back. So we call it a buyback. So
that level of accessibility is really helpful, and I think that I don't want people to feel like this is actually a sales pitch. Obviously, we have a relationship with you because, I was a customer. And one thing that I want people to understand is that I had no experience in this, but when I started questioning stuff, I started going, how can I be sure that the ones and zeros that are allegedly safe in the bank is either fiat currency, so that's just our regular currency for people that aren't familiar with what fiat means, but also say the stock market is ones and zeros, the crypto market is ones and zeros, and you can't hold it in your hands. And I bought in a tiny amount, and then we got super stuck with a big bill, and I literally just went into a gold office and then walked out with cash feeling so relieved. And I was like, shit, if I had have just relied on, say, we've had this bank account McGill was saving for a surfboard 20 years ago, I gave him $2,000, and I think he's made a total of $300 interest in 20 years. And if that's not telling, I don't know what is,
It's just not what people are hearing about, though, is it? Like the mums and dads, a lot of them are just not hearing about this as an option. We only know what we're being told through the mainstream media, and that just seems the most accessible. Really, it's and it's also how we trade on a daily basis, but it's the actual ability to save and have something sitting there that's tangible. And I think then that knock-on effect to the kids, because I know we've got a few little coins and bits and pieces at home as well, that we've had, and we've sort of showed the kids, look, this is what it actually is. And you almost, although it's a serious thing, you play games and say, what do you think this is worth? And then you have all these sort of ideas around, well, if this is worth this, you compare it to what a car's worth, or what, a microwave is worth, or what a phone's worth. So it's actually something that's tangible versus something that's just on paper.
Yeah, we found that really accessible.
Absolutely.
Well, I was just going to say, just quickly, Carmelle, that one of the things I loved about As Good as Gold is that you were, and I know you're going to do some show and tell for us as well, which I love, But you did a bit of show and tell when I brought my kids in, and that level of engagement they have never had before. They've never had that level of engagement in money. Like our youngest is so scattergun, he'll just leave a $50 note around the house. That's his birthday money. And if it disappears, we, have a tear for a second and that's it. But when you produce his gold, he was like, he was like Gollum, it was my precious.
Yeah.
He just loved it. And I think that engagement and enchantment,
I remember.
that's the genius of what I think you guys offer and why I loved our experience with you and why we wanted to talk to you about that.
Because kids aren't even going to the banks anymore.
That's awesome.
They're not even going to the banks. They're doing it all.
Do you know
digitally.
70%? Digitally. Well, look, that's a whole other discussion, but the stats are at the moment 70% of Australians do not use money, do not use fiat currency, 70%. So 30% still do. And, they might be writing on the street, but eventually by the year 2030, we'll be a cashless society. That's what our treasurer said. So what a great way to go back to, all right, so silver coins. So going back to children, I have, and I remember that that was such a delightful session with you and your beautiful boy. So there's a freedom. See, I don't know if you can see, but it's got the phoenix rising from the ashes. Freedom that was developed during COVID because we had to question freedom. So I have mothers and fathers, but they come in and they actually buy even one coin as a gift for their children. Like for one recently for her 8-year-old, who then put a pirate sticker on it and says this is treasure. And you know what? It is treasure. It is holding its value. So what does gold and silver do? Why is gold and silver so important? I need to pick up now. Here's a kangaroo. So there's a gold coin kangaroo. All right, so with King Charles on the back, because this is a Perth Mint, and Perth Mint's the only one authorised to put a head of state, King Charles on the back. Every other coin, for example, has our branding. This is a store of value. It's like an investment saving. It's going to increase over time. Do you know gold's increased 34% in the last 12 months? And you cannot find another investment, cash in the bank. What's that earning?
Not much.
No.
Costing sometimes.
That's exactly right. So think about, buying a bit of gold and silver, putting it away. Parents buy for their children. If they're not thinking for themselves, and the grandparents are buying for their children, passing on the legacy. I remember when I was a child, my grandfather, Mediterranean background, Southern Italian. I remember I was a kid and my grandfather showed me some gold and cash he had hidden under the freezer. And I thought, wow, we're wealthy. We've got gold, so I thought, that was a really interesting, thing for me to listen to. I had a gorgeous gal who worked with me. When she was 15 years old, she was studying in high school. She was studying economics, and they were talking about buying shares, how to trade, and other assets. Okay, maybe property. What are the assets? Property, cryptocurrency. I'm not sure that they were teaching that. She certainly does herself. So she's 15 years old and she just said to the teacher, what about gold and silver? Because her parents have gold and silver, real money, store of value. And the teacher reprimanded her and said, if she asks that again, she'll go to the principal. So she then defied them and started purchasing. Now she's 25. So at 15, she's coming in to buy bullion. And 10 years ago, if you bought gold and silver, you would have probably times 10 your worth. It's gone up that much. So it's just, it is something we're thinking about as parents. It's something we're thinking about to get started. It's a very easy thing to do. And there's lots of reasons why, financially, look at what's happening at the moment. Some of the women that come in, the wonderful women who come in tell me that, these are the stats really. So, women, did you know women in Australia we've got the 6th longest lifespan in the world? So that means we've got great health system. We've got great produce. The air's fairly decent to be the 6th longest lifespan. But, you know, women are living longer. And if you have children, you're out of the work system. You may not have as much superannuation. What's the divorce rate in Australia these days? About 52%. So women, my clients, and this is when it all started, when I started interviewing some of our female clients, the first 6 interviews I did just to learn their experience, not just listening to me, but, you know, finding out how they were self-educated and decided to invest in bullion or buy bullion. And they were saying that they have the house and the children, no money, and financially they were not educated at all. One of them didn't realise didn't know actually how to pay bills. And so these are women who then, you know, I admire them so much. They started researching, they started, you know, they took a chance, and they started small. And, you know, here we are today, very, very happy that they've done that, because we're not educated, as we said. This is an alternative, and I'm just encouraging just to think about diversifying and have an alternative. My father passed away, and my mother just kept spending all her money. No idea even how to save. And I thought, well, she's 81 this year, and I'm glad I jumped in, because you know, she just wasn't thinking of her financial future. And we don't know how long we have on this beautiful earth, do we? So it is really starting to become a very serious topic for many of us.
Totally. And obviously the schools aren't teaching it either, so that when you are thinking about those mothers who are educating themselves, they can be educating themselves at the same time as educating their children, and learning together and growing together. And it's a really, you know, it's a much more enjoyable way of doing it. So yeah. And I think also just thinking about, you know, the funds being in a home, it's not it's not equitable. What is it when you're trying to take the money out of a home? You can't just easily sell it.
You the equity. Access that.
Yeah, you can't access it. So it's kind of like, well, it's nice. Most people think that the home is everything when it comes to financial security. And of course it does. It provides you, you know, with a safe place to be. And
until you need some extra bucks to pay the bills for that week.
And then you're kind of going, okay, well, how am I going to get access to some money when it's all tied up in homes? So to have those other ways of actually doing it. And when banks are closing down, and you can't just walk into a local bank anymore that's as easy either. You know, I think access to other ways of keeping your funds alive is really important.
I find it fascinating that
my goodness, isn't it just?
You need to justify at a bank if you want to take out $5,000. I don't know if you've had that experience, but
2,000.
Is it 2,000 now? I don't think people know that.
Some. No. So a bank, firstly, is not there to serve you. A bank is a business, number one. The second thing is that you're an unsecured creditor to the bank. So you give them your fiat currency and they lend it to someone else. They put it in the markets and they make money for themselves. So if you want to pull or cripple a bank, 10 to 15% of clients who go in one day and pull out all their cash, fiat currency, that bank's. So it's a very, very, very challenging time. I have had mostly older women who come in to say, oh, I've gone to the bank. They won't let me take out my $10,000. They give me a hard time. What am I buying? You know, what do I need to do? Why do I need to do this? The bank is justifying by saying, oh, it's because we're trying to allow that you're trying to enable the fact that you're not being scammed.
Yes.
But, hey, it's your money. You know, and I'm really being honest, they are giving them a hard time. So it's challenging because you can come in and buy, well, you won't be able to buy this. This is a 10. That's actually 100 grams, which is a little more expensive because 1 gram of gold at the moment, ladies, is $5,244 spot price. There's about a 1% difference. So gold is that much now and continuing to increase, but silver, $56 an ounce. What a big difference. So, you know, and then we've got half ounce. I want to actually share something with you. So the 1 ounce of silver and then the ½ ounce, and then we have now the 1/10. So that's about $8. That's the size of a 5-cent piece. Why I wanted to make this a point now is just to let you know there are communities. So I know personally because I've been there, regional communities. So in Castlemaine, which is kind of northish in Victoria, where there are about 25 retailers and businesses that now allow you to go and buy products or cafes, lunch, coffee, etc., and then you can pay with silver. So before the modern monetary system, we were paying with silver.
Yes.
So, you know, going back to when we were bartering, you know, I've got a bag of tomatoes, you might have some pineapples, let's swap. Well, we're using, again, going back using silver because silver is inexpensive. You know, not a lot of people have 2 ounces of gold in their pocket, but they certainly do with the smaller amounts of silver. And so we're going back to that era again, where we're helping the community, we're using some silver to buy products, we're going into bartering, we're helping our neighbours, we're sharing, and we're really going back to living that organic life, which I'm secretly loving, actually. I mean, my father used to be very paganistic and grow the biodynamic, you know, vegetables, fruits, chickens, etc. You know, we have to go back to at least starting to respect the earth from where we come from, because this, first of all, does not actually come from the earth. It is I think it's an alchemy or an alchemic chemical product. And I hold gold and silver, and I kid you not, after a few minutes, I feel like I have electric energy just running through my system. And I just have to say, wow. I mean, like crystals, you know, rocks, it is precious. It does have that kind of conduit, if you like, too. So
oh, that's beautiful, because in fact
to hold the gold in my hand.
Well, that's right. And in fact, then it becomes this adjunct to, you know, having a thrive life as well. And I think that particularly the whole money thing, it's been kept obviously difficult to understand, largely inaccessible. Obviously, there's been an intentional thing in the education system to, you know, take out any education around precious metals. And I agree. We have colloidal gold and colloidal silver in our swag of, you know, healthcare in our house. So, yeah, there is definitely an energetic signature that's there. And it just is, it's a complete opposite to making money cold, dirty, benign, like all the kind of low grade programming that we have around that stuff, which is probably why women haven't gravitated towards it and haven't learnt around that stuff, because it has a very kind of ugly masculine feel to it. And it's almost like you need to justify it so people understand. But there's something beautiful about holding it in your hands and connecting in with money, just like you would if you grew your own food and you connected in with food that was off your land or local. So it's a beautiful thing.
Well, yeah, I couldn't agree more. Plus, there's the other side of it, is where, you know, that whole adage of, you know, you're either spiritual or you're chasing money. And I've worked in for a couple of decades. I've done a lot of sort of self-education, self-development, spiritually based courses, ley lines and pagan anthropology, etc. And I think that's where being in bullion, it's like a perfect adjunct, where it's money, but it's decentralized, so it's off the monetary system. It is, as you said, you know, it's sacred, it's precious, and it is a great store of value. You physically hold it, you physically own it, and women are starting to absolutely gravitate towards that. And because I do believe you know, there's that we are a human, a spirit in a human experience, and we do have a lot to learn and share from that level. It's not just about business, not just about corporate and chasing that dollar. There's a lot more to it, and we're starting to now see that our consciousness is raising. As you know, in general, we're becoming more aware of what's happening, because, you know, the reality is it was always there to begin with. The modern monetary system, 1913, was already in place, but we just didn't have the awareness, or perhaps we didn't have reasons to question, and we are questioning everything. I know I'm a former journalist, and I'm definitely questioning everything, and I know you two are as well. You know, that makes sense, doesn't it, that we have to start to look at well, what is money? Well, what are you doing with my money? Well, what's happening in future? As I said, we're hurtling towards a cashless society. What sort of world is that going to be for us, let alone our children?
Yeah. And more than that, when you start getting questions around why do you want to take your money out, the mirage of it being in a trusted institution somewhere safe that you can have access to any time totally gets obliterated. And so that trust, people need to bump into that to understand that is not available. Like that's a mirage. And it's a very different thing to holding that precious metal in your hand, say, or managing your own cryptocurrency portfolio, however small that is. But what I love and what you've just obviously indicated is the ability to hold these precious metals in our hands and actually absorb that energetic field and just allow for that to infuse is just next level. And I think that people are starting to call bullshit on the separation between science and spirituality. They have never been mutually exclusive. They were always integrated. We just got gaslit on that they were separate.
Yeah.
Well, again, it goes into, we all tried to do the right thing. No one questioned anything, but that's done now. That's completely over. We talk about I do consultations about 10 a week, self-managed super funds. That's a whole other story. What the superannuation fund, we've all had super, was, mandatory. Well, good luck if that's going to give you 34%, and it's invested in the share market, and look at, again, the volatility of what's happening now. That is your retirement savings. And I am so passionate about it because a lot of people may not have $50,000 to buy bullion, but they certainly have a lot of money tied up into their super that they have no control over. And what's going to happen when, the financial markets start crashing? The central banks are going to launch stable coins and digital currency. So this is part of the world that I live in, which it starts to make a lot of sense to me. Thinking about what do you think for your future.
Yeah, I think it's the volatility is something that's a really good thing to just highlight as well, because there is a lot of volatility, and to know that you can hold something yourself. And one of the things I love to do is, go back and just have a look at a few of the coins that we've got, and then just teach the kids, or, just let them know what the increase has been in the price. So remember last year, this when we looked, this is what the price was. And, a year later, now it's worth this. So, that takes away that risk and that volatility as a family. It's like you're maintaining that control over your financial situation, whereas there is so much volatility out there on so many levels. And I was sort of listening to something the other day about even how China, with their central digital currency, and how that's starting to be questioned now because the trust is eroding. So I think there's a turning of the tide. So
it does feel like, and basic parents like us can get on board. So if we can do it, anyone can.
It's
like we're
simple.
proof of that, But what I'm curious about, because I want to have people use this as a springboard. Where to from here, Carmelle? How do they get more educated? How do they engage their children in this?
Well, first, can I just say that what you've just said about educating your children, I do that I don't have children, but I have nieces, and they're really savvy, and they can always have a look at the website or anywhere else to see, wow, it's gone up again.
Yeah.
So good on you. And that's a great start, and they really take that in. Look, just I'm available, I guess, for just a conversation or explaining anything. As good as Gold Australia or my team. I've got an all-women staff, by the way, and I do believe that it's the first in Australia where we're all women that can help you. Their head office has a couple of the guys as well, but in my team it just happened that way. So you just give us a call or drop an email, whatever we can do to assist you. I'm here to help. I'm absolutely passionate about it. It's not like I'm selling a bag of chips, it's something that I believe in, and it's about our financial future, which I really think we need to be serious about. So here to serve.
And it really is simple to actually get access
Yes,
and to go and see Carmelle and the team, because it's just a matter of just transferring whatever money from one bank to the other, and you can either store it with you guys, or you can, depending on the amount, you can just hold it yourselves if you're not wanting to sort of go too big. So it's doable, it's simple, it's nothing complex. So you don't need a financial advisor in order to access this sort of option.
Yeah. So the first thing that we encourage people to do is to fark the should of needing to be qualified or have a penis to understand this stuff.
Yeah.
It's very helpful just to start the conversation. And I mean, you guys are you're so accessible, and I think it feels quite scary because we haven't felt empowered to do that kind of stuff. But as soon as you have an entanglement with, say, the main institution where they say, no, you need to justify why you want your money, I think that's where the lionesses are coming out, and they're going, oh, not in my watch. So thank you so much for making this available to our community, because I feel the snowball, and the kids these days will just benefit, because they will just understand this and they will resonate with this so quickly. They will understand their sovereignty. They've been born for these times. So it's a beautiful thing to have access to these kind of resources like As Good as Gold are providing. So we're very grateful.
Thank you.
Absolute pleasure. I'm absolutely grateful as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Quanta folks. Thanks for sticking with us with this conversation. It can feel very uncomfortable because it's so new and so foreign, and it feels like, you need your big girl pants for this kind of stuff.
It's so new yet so old, right?
Correct.
That's what's weird about it.
Yeah.
Or,
and I've had colloidal silver in my cupboard for like 15 years, but never thought to buy any precious metals. So in fact, it feels so strange, but go and find out more, and look, get your kids involved. Use them as an excuse to educate yourself.
Totally. Yeah.
Until next time, Quanta folks, Carmelle again, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah.
We look forward to our next conversation. Be well, beautiful people. Hey, Quanta folks. The conversations that we have about alchemising education are underpinned by our amazing Take the Leap course for parents, which is all about deschooling the parents. If you're keen to deep dive more, then check out the QuantiMama.com website and find the Take the Leap course. This course is beautiful because it will give you an opportunity to examine where your programs are, where you're creating limiting beliefs and expectations for your child, and it ultimately frees you to be the best advocate for your child that you can be. And that's all of us can ever want for our children, just to love, nurture and watch them become the most incredible individuals that we already know them to be. So more info, head to QuantiMama.com.